Oh, first, Declan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just kind of a little bit tired and been sort of, working on the record for a little while. So I've just been chilling out the last few days,
Okay,
um, which has been cool. So yeah, good.
yeah, that's good. Now, what I like about getting to talk to you again is we've had a couple conversations over the years, and now it's from my perspective, it's really fun to see that kind of development from where you started with
Mm.
Brazil and then everything that came in between the debut album to where you are now. How do you perceive that development yourself?
Um, yeah, it's felt quite like there's been a big change. It's felt like there's been time, I guess, for me to really consider the things I wanted to do as an artist and really kind of, you know, amidst a lot of change, be able
Mm.
to sort of find my place for myself. Because when I started, I obviously sort of got into the music industry quite quickly and was then just working on music and touring constantly. And it was like having this time and space to actually really think about what I was doing, I think helped. And having that just bit of experience, knowing how it felt to play shows live with a band and knowing how it felt in the studio and learning little tricks here and there and learning how to achieve what I wanted,
Sure.
um, all that stuff came to make the new record, I think, just a lot more expansive and a lot more well constructed and crafted. And I think that's all been important. It's important to have that and also try and not let it weigh down the album.
Mm.
You learn, but still make an album that's fun, like, or make an album that still has a sort of, that isn't me trying to be too overly mature. Like, I think that's always been at the heart of my music is just playfulness and childishness, and
Mm.
like even when the topics are kind of serious or people make out that I'm being very, very deep and very serious all the time, like I actually kind of get a lot out of just having fun with the ideas and taking the piss, and like I think
Sure.
that's great.
Is that perhaps one of the biggest misconceptions about you because of kind of the some of the subjects that you tackle because the way I know you do have a good sense of humor and then you do have that lighter side
Yeah,
to you.
yeah, I don't know. I think people see me in different ways, I guess. Like, it's just the thing you can't really control
Sure.
when you're an artist, is just that people will have different entry points for you and different understanding of you. But yeah, one of the kind of frustrating things is to just like, talking like you're a politician when trying to make points about the world, but also just like when you're touring and like, you wake up at 10:30 and go and do promo, and then you're like, it's just like a big sort of lecture on very, very serious stuff. It can be like, oh, why did I choose to do this? But I think half of what I do really is making serious points. Like I've always really wanted that role to
Mm.
be able to do that. But yeah, it's I'm playing with the fabric of time. Playing around with the sort of, I guess. I think the thing is, a lot of the things that I'm attacking, I find quite funny. Like, our sort of political system, parliament, like in British Bombs, I kind of, even though it's about very serious stuff, like that, the thing that I'm targeting in that is I find really funny and just really ridiculous and outdated.
Sure.
And like, that's kind of the angle I come at these things from. So then sort of going in a very serious conversation about it is actually kind of very different from when I'm constructing songs about it. And I can't quite make the same points talking about it. So yeah, it's I think that is an important thing for me. It's just that it is about having fun as much as it is about making the points that I want to make or I feel need to be made.
And is it fair to say then about Zeros, in terms of, as we talk about your kind of development as an artist, that it's, because I think I saw you saying about Zeros, it's more of observations than anything else. It's not kind of pointing a finger or like you say, giving a lecture or anything, but it's just more looking around you.
Yeah, because I think there is a moral message on Zeros, but I've tried not to pin like any of the songs to one. It's just like as soon as I say one topic, it's like this song is about this one topic, and it is that thing where it's like, you know, and then I have to answer it. Whereas the songs are all about different thing. It was about creating this world and about being able to sort of just like promote a really positive sense of humanity through the songs, and promote, you know, display in the songs that, like, you know, the way that we treat each other really impacts the world, and that our actions are important in day-to-day life, and like that's kind of the important message. And I think people will gauge that listening to it, because there's an aggression to the lyrics, and there's like you know, stuff that just feels like it is brewing toxicity in this sort of album world. And I think that's really the important overarching message, is the one of the whole album, that if you push someone hard enough, they will, you know, there are too many dark places that they can go to now, and we need to be very careful of that in terms of, you know, how we act towards each other. And, you know, there's sort of similar moral message in terms of, you know, protecting the environment, and all those are integrated into the album. But it is about, the whole thing is me observing the world and being able to really write lyrics that were in it, you know, like rather than being sort of outward and being wagging the finger, like, you know, lyrics that are based in this world and sort of are more gentle and abstract, I suppose, than a song like British Bombs, maybe.
Right. And it's interesting that you say that, because mentioning kind of taking care of one another and not trying to push somebody over the edge, because it just reminds me, I really like the intro of the outro on Daniel, You're Still a Child, because what's wrong with Daniel? He's no fun. You just want, you just wait till Daniel hurts someone. So it's that kind of...
I mean, that's like that end of that song really came like at the end of making it. Like, we were just jamming at the end, and those sort of lyrics came out. But that was just the thing, was like in there, and in You Better Believe, and you know, in Sagittarius, there is a sort of pushing away to this sort of main character Daniel, which is, I think the course of the album is that, you know, the start is you're going to get yourself killed, and the end is, you know, something, death or something similar. And like, yeah, there is a sense of that, you know, Daniel Is Still a Child kind of is this running narrative kind of, you know, of this sort of adolescent who seems to be sort of very lost, and just like sometimes just telling someone what to do doesn't get the results you want. And you know, it's I think it's a little bit sad in that way, but I guess the purpose is to display that. And, you know, just at the minute there's such, I mean, everyone's been watching, I keep talking about it, but the social dilemma, everyone's been watching this documentary, and it's like I think that kind of tells a lot of, well, that kind of explained to me almost a lot of the stuff I was trying to talk about, which is like that people have different worlds presented to them via advertising on you know, because we're all sort of on these phones all the time. Like, you know, we are, they know, the algorithms learn so much about us that they present us all with different worlds, and we become so you know, our view of what is truth and our view of what is fake news, like, becomes so starkly different that we just create a very toxic environment for everyone. That is just like, even if, you know, you're talking to people you disagree with, who you don't just disagree with politically, but also that their idea of what the world is right now is like a completely different thing to you, and there is just no integration of thought in that way. And that's what is kind of terrifying about the world right now. And I think that sort of stuff was the separation and the you know, pushing away that I think this album talks about and mulls over.
There's something I think about personally a lot as well. I don't like my phone. I try to not touch it at all, just when I have to. and my theory has always been like, obviously technology has advanced a great deal in the last 20 years. It's kind of exploded, and we have all these abilities that we never had. But my view on it is that perhaps our constitution as human beings is not suited for this amount of information, this amount of kind of connectivity and all that. It's just too much. And especially for someone like you who's now in the public eye. I mean, you have a hit record, and then is that a weird thing to balance then, where on the one side it's kind of part of the game, but then on the other side there are some pitfalls in it?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, the thing that you can instantly recognize on the internet is the communities, and is the sort of finding your people and finding, being able to talk about and learn about things like that is, the sharing of knowledge and information on the internet is so fast paced. But that's what also makes it so dangerous, is the pace of it means that just like bullshit becomes mainstream, becomes mainstream thought in seconds, in a very short period of time. And like, it is so scary, being in a world that really, that really sort of is battling itself because of all of this. And like, it's, it's giving kids anxiety, and it's, terror, causing things like Brexit to happen in the UK. It's all really based around internet and advertising, and like, causing very drastic changes, and it's not always the right ones. So it's definitely, I'm definitely like, I mean, I say this, I've literally just bought a new iPhone, but like, I've definitely been put off my phone. Like, the one thing I've done is I've turned off all of my notifications. It's like,
helps.
The apps cannot summon me. Like, they are not allowed to tell me to come back to them.
do you know who Joanna Lumley is? She's
I know who Joanna Lumley is.
I saw her say about cell phones and stuff that it's made us very reactionary. We have those notifications, and we can't bear to not look at the notifications. So once they're gone, you can use it a lot more actively instead of reacting.
Yeah, it's really, I think it's really important to have notifications off, because it's like, it'll be like, you're hoping that someone's commented on something and you get a notification, but really it's just like, I don't know, like someone interacting with someone else on Twitter, and it's just got you onto it, and then you're just sucked in and you're using it again. And it's like, the more opportunity, you can't give your phone the opportunities to do that with social media, because it is so addictive.
Right. And like you say, that documentary kind of shows you how it's made to be addictive. So it's
it really is. And like, as well, the scary thing right now is that we don't really understand how, self-learning algorithms are working and what they're doing. So it's only really just starting to, we're just starting to see the tip of the iceberg of all the things that that those algorithms are getting wrong, and, stuff that humans maybe haven't meant, but, have kind of instilled, with the exam results stuff over here in the UK, where like kids in poorer areas, because they couldn't take their exams and, were just giving grades based off their predicted stuff. Kids in poorer areas were getting lower grades than kids in the private schools, because the algorithms were saying, oh yeah, all these kids get good grades, all these kids get shit grades, and that, because that's what the algorithm had kind of learned. And that's like, obviously, such a miscarriage of justice. So, there's, and that's probably a relatively small thing in terms of what we really don't, when we're really putting these things into place, when we don't understand what they're doing. Like, there's so many risks. And in Homo Deus, one of the books that I was reading in the making of the record, like, that was one of the things, was like that they talk about a lot, is sort of the way algorithms will work to do better than us, but without us understanding and finding routes that, we wouldn't necessarily see. And obviously that can lead to great new things, but it can also lead to real, really destructive things if we're not understanding it, because we'll miss things as we did.
And then on the more positive side of technology, then is kind of the ability again to connect with people, but especially in kind of the world that we live in now. I mean, you've been able to be creative with your music videos. You've been able to do a live stream and all of that. So, do you see that as a kind of other side of the same coin in a way, where you do have the ability to reach the people that you want to reach? And
yeah, absolutely. And I love, I love a lot about the internet, and like I love that I'm able to do that in a time like this, and I still kind of have a job right now because of the internet. Right. I still am able to actually work and do all that, and like even some of the people who sort of work with me, my band and all that, have been able to get work because we have the internet to do things the way we have done. So like, that side of it is amazing. And like, and people who wanted to see us perform who wouldn't be able to this year, have an opportunity to do that, albeit in a different environment. So all that stuff is fantastic. It's just, that's all. I think maybe the difference is this sort of this sense of control, like when it's really driven by people and by sharing positivity and sharing good things and sharing stuff that is good, that is accessible because it's on the internet, is really awesome. It's just the flip side of the coin is where we become sort of addicted. We become subservient to algorithms that none of us understand, like not even the people who made them.
Right.
So like there's two sides to it, but I generally think the more organic, the more human led, the better. Because as you say, like we are meant to work in smaller groups, and when we try and make things work on such a huge scale, it can become very very scary, I think.
Yeah, don't they say that? Maybe I'm pulling this out of my, but didn't they say that people are meant to be living in communities of about 150 people or something?
Yeah, that's exactly it. You're supposed to have that many sort of close connections, and everyone has more than that friends on Facebook, basically.
Yes, thousands
people they follow on Twitter, like everyone. Like, I mean, but that is a scary thing.
But, yes, definitely. But in terms of the record then, because when you started, there was well, I don't exactly know when you started, but it was 2019, maybe.
I mean, I think the first songs I wrote that I can remember were 2018, maybe even for the record.
Okay.
In fact, the first songs I wrote for this new album were in 2017, because we recorded it in August last year, and it was pretty much written by, the start of last year, start of 2019. So I'd been writing it since the end of 2017, really, which is a long period of time, but there were just so many different stages.
Right. No, but what I was wondering is, in terms of you mentioned the word organic and kind of the preference for things being more organic than too technical. Is it fair then to say that was the approach for this record sonically as well, where you wanted a more raw sonic landscape?
Yeah, I was definitely appreciating like live performance and just like getting into touring with the band. Really, I really had more of an understanding of why I really liked that. And a lot of the records that I was getting into at the time were sort of based around that. There was definitely an attitude to do that. I wanted to be able to mess with things digitally and, be able to use the tools at our disposal and like not just have, band plays and that's the record. But it's definitely being able to get a little balance between, having this raw band sound and then being able to play with it after and, have some fun with it and figure out some sort of new soundscapes for it. But was definitely going for organic and raw and going for mistakes.
Right. Can you give an example of that then? I seem to remember, but it might be wrong, that Rapture was one of those songs that you started out with a certain drum beat and then
Yeah, I mean, there's like they're all sort of got written in different ways. I mean, Rapture I kind of did. See, a lot of them like started digitally. Like Rapture, I
Okay.
did sort of at my studio, at my old house, and from there I kind of, I went and played it with the band after, and we sort of built it up from that. But it was kind of close to being what it was now. It was just when I played it with the band, like the end of the song came together, like little extra parts came around, and really sort of became more full. But like there's little moments where there's sort of mistakes are sort of cherished on the album. Like there's a towards the end of You Better Believe, there's like the bit where it gets sort of really heavy and high octane, and there was a time where Nathan is playing the piano in the song and he's like going really ham, and there was a time where he played like just like a slightly out first chord in this sort of end section, and like I was just like, you need to play that wrong every time you play it now, because it was so good. And it's on the track, it's like a the chord it should be is like a duh, but it's like duh, and it's a really sort of clangy little section that just gives it so much energy. And like we're kind of trying to find those moments where sometimes it was a bit constructed like that, where it was like we sort of realized while we were jamming it that like it was really cool when something went a bit wrong here. Or like, for example, with Eventually Darling, a song like that like had been quite heavily constructed digitally, as I say, when I was writing it. But then when we were in the studio, it just needed more energy, and so like I just got a guitar and amped up the distortion and just kind of made this whole grungy section that was a little more beautiful before, and like was basically just playing like one note and the rest of it just slamming the rest of the strings, like just getting as much chaos out of it as possible.
Right.
There was a lot of different ways we did it, but it was ultimately about being impulsive and knowing when we were getting the energy that the songs needed. And sometimes it was just the first take, and then that's the part. And yeah.
And I mean, you mentioned the word energy, and I seem to remember talking to you in a previous interview about kind of the live energy that you have and kind of making a fun show out of it. So was this album, where did that energy come from? Was this just kind of did that arise out of your mindset, out of your the place you were in at the time, or was it looking forward to live shows? How did that energy kind of seep into the album?
Yeah, it's a little bit of just kind of really wanting to embrace, the fact that me and my band have been playing together for such a long time, and being able to work together on songs. We did it on British Bombs and it worked really well, and so when we went to record the album, it just felt really natural a thing to do. But honestly, like I was just listening to a lot of records where I could hear those mistakes and hear, really feel a sense of the room. Pixies records, I think, all do that very, very well, like putting you in the room. And a lot of old Dylan records, Blonde on Blonde and stuff, like just hearing all the mistakes and hearing the rawness of the performance. But just because they're good at it, like it's so great when you hear it in a raw way. And I'm just like, well, my band are really good, so we should just do that. And
fair enough.
It works. It's you often don't trust yourself as a musician and try and get things too right and try and but a lot of the time you just have to be like, I can do this. And it's actually great when I'm just playing it and I'm not kind of tailoring it too much or not kind of making it too perfect. Like, can actually just do it. And like, even with the mistakes and everything, that's kind of part of the nuance that makes each musician really good at what they do. It's like the little differences and not getting everything too perfect.
Is this then part of the realization you had when you had some time away, in a sense? Because we are, as we mentioned in the beginning, kind of you were stuck in this whirlwind, but you were in this whirlwind of kind of everything that was happening, and you were still kind of developing yourself. Did kind of that reflection allow you to have a more nuanced approach to your music?
Yeah, more control, really. Like more that's kind of what it was all about. Like, was taking control and just like knowing what I wanted to achieve from the tracks, and being able to kind of get that. Like I think with the sort of with the sort of time I had after the first record, also just learned from that, like what I didn't like about, I could compare the tracks on my first album after, living with them for a little while, like with my favorite records, and be like, what was I doing that gave this less energy, or what was I doing that gave this, because I still love those recordings, but you listen back and you're like, and I can move forward from here, because with your first record, you're kind of, I was on producers I was working with, and a bit more sort of, a bit less confident in my ideas and confident in, and I just had that time and experience to, really acknowledge it all and sort of figure out where I was going to fall in the production sphere. There's so many ways you can go producing an album. You can just do it all in your bedroom these days, or you can do it all in a studio and write it all in a studio. And like, I was finding the balance maybe of having a bit of my sort of digital nuance that I've sort of picked up over the years making music in my bedroom, but also capturing this like newfound sort of desire to make stuff raw and make it rock. I guess is the word. Make it rock, man. I think that it's a rocking album, and I think that's what we're going for.
Well, did you achieve that? Yeah. Well, what I find interesting as well, because you were forced to postpone a couple of times, and this album has been done for quite a while. What was it like then to be finally able to release it? Was that a nerve-wracking moment, or was it a very liberating thing?
It was liberating. I mean, I wasn't actually nervous, because I kind of, over the lockdown period, been like, I actually really like this album. So like, and it spent a lot of time building up to it, but I was just so relieved to get it out. And, having that week of just seeing people's reactions and seeing how sort of delighted people seem to be, with the songs as it was, like I was just so relieved to have that and have it sort of happen that way. It was great. And, after such a long time, it was just really, really nice.
That's good. Final question then. I heard you say about the final track on the album, Eventually Darling, that line, everyone leaves eventually, darling. Don't be afraid. That's your favorite lyric, or one of your favorite lyrics you've written. How come?
I just think it is an epic sort of fist in the air moment, and the music and the lyrics sort of come together to make this really poignant thing. And I think that's one of my favorite things about music, is just when you reach a sort of peak, and that's what that bit is to me. And it's sort of sad and sort of beautiful at the same time. And I love it. Yeah.
Well, one last thought then. Who were the people you were looking up to, or maybe a song or two that had this kind of peak, or this thing that you admired?
The one I think of is Sufjan Stevens, All For Myself. The sort of I want it all for myself. Like that bit is just so, this song is constantly building and going up and up and up, and it's like, I want it all for myself. Like that's like such a beautiful moment to me. The song is sort of flowing into this point, and I love when that happens, when you sort of feel the energy from the music and the lyrics, and they come together so well. Paul Simon's so good at that, and David Bowie, and a lot of influences going into to do that.
All right, Declan, thank you very much for taking the time to sit down with me.
No worries.
Hope you have a great day, and I hope you get to come to Amsterdam again soon.
Yeah, hopefully in spring next year, but we'll see. See how we.
It's a crazy, uncertain world, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, of course. Cheers, man.
Have a good one.
Have a good day.